Do you ever find yourself getting discouraged by all of the incredible design work that you see on social media every single day? If so, you're not alone, and I have good news for you. A lot of those complex designs that you're seeing are actually much simpler to make on your own than you might think. So whether you're trying to create dynamic backgrounds, decorative grids, drop shadow text, or Apple's multicolor gradient type, it's all possible thanks to one of Illustrator's most underrated and versatile features, the Blend tool. I'm Levi with Total Rojo Studios, and today I'm going to teach you the techniques you need to make the Blend tool a must in your daily design arsenal. Let's jump in. Right here, we're going to be talking about the multicolor gradient, and this is going to be something that you see a lot from Apple, especially in their Calligraphy Hello. So this is actually going to be really easy to recreate if you've got some pen tool type that you want to recreate it with. Let's jump into the file I have prepared for this. As you can see, it's type, but it's created with the pen tool, and it's just paths with a stroke on it. So the first thing we're going to do is count how many paths we have, because that's going to indicate how many blends we need to make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 of those. That means we need to create 10 different colors. But in this case, I'm thinking that I can use the same thing for the curve of the T and the crossbar. So I'm actually just going to do 9. To create these, I'm going to come up here and just start out with some big circles so we can establish the overall gradient that we're going to use. Then once I've got these, I'm going to use this color palette. I'm actually going to get rid of the outline. That's pretty important, so kill the outline there. And then right here, change that to yellow, and then change that to blue. And I just did red, yellow, blue because that's the order it would be in a rainbow. Let's get the blend tool with W, and then click, click, click. And then if you press enter, you can actually see what your options are for the blend tool. Right now we've got it set to smooth color, and that's exactly what we need. So the next step is figuring out how thick we want our gradient to be. So let's just go down here, create a circle about the same width as that path, because I like what that looks like, and then hit Command X to cut that, and I'm going to paste it up here, Command V. I'm going to move that over here to the start of the gradient, and then we have to create 9 paths, so I'm just going to see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm going to pull this over here to the end, and then get up here, and then hit this to distribute them all evenly. Okay, once I've got that done, if we just went 1, 2, 3, then we start to see a problem, right? A, it's not blending because we haven't picked any colors, and B, that's creating one thing. Even though we've got multiple circles, it's just one blend, so we have to do a couple things. The first thing, let's start picking these colors. We created this up here, so we can just easily pick from the colors we need on the rainbow, and it will create the blends for us down here. Now that we've got those colors selected, we need to start creating our blends. So to circumvent the problem of creating one big blend by clicking here to here to here, I'm going to actually create something here and duplicate these down here. So I can use that same color for 2 different paths. See how that works? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so now that those are good to go, I'm going to start creating them. So press W on your keyboard to get the blend tool, then click here, then here, hold Command, click away, and just make sure you're hitting that same anchor point on each of them, because that's what it's referencing. And if you click the top anchor point here and the bottom anchor point here, it's going to create a rotation in that blend. So that's something you're going to want to avoid, but if you run into that, you can easily fix it. So I'm just going to do these real quick. And then in between each one, I'm making sure to hit Command so that I don't accidentally create a blend between those 2 shapes. Now that I've got those, this process is honestly pretty simple. Something I do a lot is I select everything I need, hold Option, click and drag, just so I have it duplicated in case I need a mistake. I have a clean version that I can easily reference. We talked about using the same color for this and this, so I'm just going to duplicate that first one. So now we've got the 10 that we need. To get the gradient applied to these strokes, what you do is you click that, hold Shift, click the color you want, go to Object, Blend, and then Replace Spine. And so what you see here is that that color gets applied to this. And right now it's just doing a smooth blend across the radius and evenly distributing them along the path. So what we're actually going to want to do is select that, hit W on your keyboard, hit enter for the options, and then change that to specified distance. And at the size we're using right now, I think 0.5 pixels is going to create a smooth one. So you can see that's actually just made up of probably 200 circles to give it that smooth look. And so you can do the same here, here, option, blend, replace spine, W for blend, enter for options, specify distance, 0.5 pixels. So I'm just gonna do these real quick. And a little tip here, you can just quickly go in and change all of these to replace spine. And then the ones that are a little wonky, you can select all at the same time, W, enter, specify distance, 0.5 pixels. And that's an easy way to get all of them done at the same time. And so looking at this is almost perfect, right? It looks really smooth, but I'm seeing a few problems. Right here, the gradient is going the wrong direction. So this doesn't look natural. So to fix that, you would click that, object, blend, reverse spine. And then we've got that going, but we've still got a problem, right? And then you go object, blend, reverse front to back. Now that loops up perfectly with this. And to make that a smooth path, you're gonna wanna click this, Command Shift, right bracket, bring it up top so they connect. Now you can see it's creating a perfect blend across the whole thing. This next tip is moving on to more of a comic style of text. And usually this is something that would be pretty easy to create by, duplicating this shape, dragging it down, and drawing those lines by hand, right? So why would I even use the blend tool? Well, I'm gonna show you. First, let's start with our logo. No drop shadow at all. We're gonna select this, and everything we want to be part of the drop shadow, we're gonna go into Pathfinder, hit these 3 dots, change this to make compound shape, and then expand. And once it's expanded, we know that this is just seen as one shape now, right? That's necessary for our next step, which is object, path, offset path. And this is like creating a stroke around it, but instead of creating a stroke and turning that stroke into shapes, it's just creating shapes, the width that the stroke would actually be. I like an offset of about 10 for this effect, especially at this size. It's gonna vary. An easy way to preview is if you type in a number and hit tab, it'll show you how much you're around that shape. So I'm gonna stick with our original 10 and just see what that looks like. So once I press that, it gives me this shape. I'm gonna go again to Pathfinder, and then just for good measure, make compound shape, expand. Now I'm gonna make that black, and it's already behind the shape we have. So this is perfect, right? And now the next step is holding Option and then clicking and dragging this. And drag it to where you want the end of your shadow to be. And then once you do that, hit W for blend, click here, and then we get something like that. And that absolutely is not the effect we want because it's kind of choppy, right? We don't like that. So let's select it, hit W, enter for options, and then specified steps. Let's do something like 50 just to see a really smooth edge. And now you can see that gives you that look really easily. But we're not done. The reason this is an advantage over just drawing it with the pen tool, because you can move it around after the fact. Usually it doesn't seem like you can, but if you double click, you can move this back shape however you want it. You can make it a drop shadow as if the light was above, or maybe you want the light to come from the top right. Maybe you want the shadow to be longer. You want a nice long shadow effect. And obviously if you do that, you're gonna wanna change your blend options again and give it some more in there. But that's the true power of the blend tool in this scenario, is you can move this around as much as you want. And you can even hit S for scale it down, and that gives a little bit of perspective to that and makes it feel almost like a 3D object with no render times, and it's super easy to quickly change where it's coming from. This next effect is something you'll actually see on a lot of type posters. This is one where we take advantage of this transition not being as smooth as we need it to be in the multicolor gradient or the drop shadow text. Because it's not smooth, it looks like we've created a ton of objects, right? And they're kind of stacked on top of each other to give it this nice, clean, graphic look. And so to achieve this one, let's start with just the logo. Right now it's black on white, but we're gonna quickly change that to white with black outline. The generic black in Illustrator isn't crazy black, so we're just gonna select it and click that because it gives it more of a rich black. Increase the stroke a little bit. Let's put it at 5. That gives us a good idea of what we're looking at. So to create the effect that we saw at the beginning, the first thing we're gonna have to do is give the shape some perspective. So let's hit E on our keyboard, and this brings up these tools. And Perspective Distort is super helpful to create quick, fake 3D effects that keeps your shape fully vector. So let's do something like that, play around with it, see what we like. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's got kind of a front angle view with some perspective in there. Now let's start applying the effect. So it's really easy, click Option and drag. Then once it's over here, Command Shift, left bracket, sends it to the back. By now you know the drill. Hit W on your keyboard, select the back, select the front, and you start getting these duplications. Okay, let's click on it again, hit W, press Enter. Let's change how many we have in there. Let's make it 10. Okay, you can see you're starting to get something interesting. And right now we're getting kind of an odd look on this one, so double click for isolation mode, click the back, S for scale, scale down until we get it to a place that we like. So this now is super simple. It's a nice clean graphic look that looks more difficult to create than it actually is, because if you had to perfectly drag those out, scale them down, it's pretty tricky to get all of these to align on a nice 1-point perspective grid. Okay, this dynamic wave background is something that you'll see a ton nowadays. It's almost literally everywhere. And when I first saw it, I thought that's gotta be super complicated, right? You're gonna draw each of these individually, but no, it's the blend tool yet again. So let's get started. Let's hide this and just work on this working layer. So the first thing you're gonna do is draw whatever shape you want your curves to be. And this is something that definitely takes a lot of practice. So sometimes they'll turn out great and sometimes they'll turn out really bad. And something that you wanna look for is things that follow similar shapes, but kind of go against the curve. So for example, if you do something like this, it might not look as good, but if you do something where it's following a similar curve like this, but it's fluctuating the width, that could look really nice. So let's try something like that. Smooth out that curve a little bit. Hit S for scale to play with the scale. That's something that can smooth out those curves really nicely. Okay, so once you've got your two curves, you hit W for blend, click here, and then hit Enter for your options. And then open up specified steps. And this is something where you get a little bit creative. For this example, 15 seems to work great. And once you've got it like this, to add a little more depth, you can pick the back. So I want this line to be my back. Let's thin it out a little bit. That's what's really cool about the blend tool, is it'll make that seem kind of gradual, like it's fading into the background, right? To accentuate it, let's pull up the size on this a little bit. I'm gonna hold Command, so it goes more incrementally. And then once it's up, move this around, see what it looks like. I'm gonna hit A for my direct selection, and I'm going to change the opacity a little bit. See, now it feels like it just disappears, like it's almost infinite, right? And another really cool thing about the blend tool is if I drew all of these by hand, I can control the width, right? I can control the shape, and it would probably still look great. But what's really nice about this is it's dynamic. You change that, it's changing everything for you, and you don't have to go in and redraw 16, 17 lines, whatever you decide. So that's something that's really nice. It reminds me of in math when you used to draw a bunch of straight lines to create a curve. It's got that kind of same look to it. Speaking of straight lines to make a curve, we grab this, delete it. Let's hit backslash to get our line tool, and then we can draw two straight lines. And that's not gonna be that interesting, right? Let's try it. So click that one, click that one. Well, it looks pretty terrible right now, right? So let's go into blend options, specified steps. This time it's a little bit bigger of a space. Let's try 20. Okay. Here's that curve I was telling you about, right? Those straight lines, and you're getting some cutoff here, but that's easy to fix. Just grab that, drag it out further, grab this, drag it out further. And now you've got almost like a bow tie effect, right? But that could look really cool if you rotate it and it's a perfectly straight line and it goes through the middle of your logo, right? That could look nice. Or if you grab this and decide, okay, I'm gonna get the pen tool, hold Option, turn it into an actual curve, and then again, that dynamicism comes into play, and you can get some really interesting shapes really easily and have a lot of fun playing around with this. One other piece I'd like to show you on these is it likes to leave a lot of overhang. So what I like to do is create a clipping mask. So I get M for my rectangle, draw around the whole space that I want it to be in, hold Shift, click, and then hit Command Z for a clipping mask. Now it's not spilling over into these edges and you can still see it. And if you decide, I kind of want to edit it still, you can double click, takes you into isolation mode, and you can edit these. This dot grid can seem daunting to do at first, especially if you imagine taking the ellipse tool, creating a small circle, and just repeating it hundreds of times, right? So I've got an easier way. So let's hide this layer and start with a blank slate. Get on that working layer. So to start, I'm gonna zoom in because we're gonna be working with some pretty small things here. I'm gonna create this ellipse, zoom out, see if I like the scale comparatively. Not bad, right? Let's make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, so to do this, I'm gonna put it over here in the corner. Okay, zoom out, duplicate, bring it all the way over here to the corner of this guy. And once we're zoomed out, I can go in here, hide this layer real quick, and then just hit W on the keyboard for blend. Click here, and then we've got hundreds of little dots. So click on that, W, enter for options, and then change this from smooth color, specified steps. Let's just do it at 100, see what that looks like. Okay, that's looking much more reasonable, right? We can actually make out some of those shapes. Let's bring back our decorative layer and see how we feel about that. Okay, that's honestly a good place to start. And so once you've got this going and you're happy with it, you can duplicate it up here just so you don't lose the living version of that. And then we're gonna have to expand this to create the full grid. So, okay. Now it actually is all of those little shapes. Unfortunately, you can't stack multiple blends on top of each other, so I wouldn't be able to say blend this and this because it just wants to connect them. That's the problem there, that's why we have to do the expand. Once this is expanded, I'm gonna hold Option, click, drag, and bring down to the bottom of our decorative pieces. Once it's down here, I'm gonna click W, click here, and this is starting to look more like a grid. Right now it's quite a bit, but let's hit W, enter for options, specified steps. Let's bring this down to, let's see, say 60. Okay, so 60 is close, but we've still got kind of a rectangle shape here. So let's change it to something like 50. Okay, I'm honestly pretty happy with where it is at 50. So now it's a little powerful, so let's click on it and change it to something like 60% opacity. That's a lot more moderate, looking better, right? Okay, so now to hide some of these shapes, there's a couple ways we can do it, and I'm gonna show you the quick way. Let's just draw the shape we want them to appear in. So let's make sure we're on working, click here, hold Shift to do a straight line, Shift to do a straight line, bring it over here, hold Shift. Let's hide those dots. Shift, click, Shift, click, Shift, click. Move over here. Okay, down here. I actually don't want to show these. Okay, bring it over here, bring it up. Now it's like, great, it's hidden, right? No. So we're gonna do what we did earlier, create a clipping mask, click, Shift, click, Command 7, and now we just have a clipping mask. And the perfect thing is, still dynamic if you need to change it. That works really well if you want to create something you can start applying objects to give you some consistent spacing or even just some decorative background. This final technique is a great example of how you can layer different blends on top of each other to create one cohesive object. This is a pattern I've seen a lot, and I always wondered how you create it and keep it consistent and interesting. So I'm going to show you the quickest way I know how. And we're going to start out with the line tool. I'm just going to click, drag while holding Shift to create a straight line, and let's give it some stroke. Let's start with something like 25. 25 is not bad, right? So let's go to the stroke, make sure it's a nice deep black, pull it down, give these top elements some breathing room. And then I'm gonna hold Option, click, drag all the way down here, let go. And I'm gonna make this quite a bit thinner. Okay, 5's not bad. Gonna give a little more space down there because we have to add that shape in. So now that I'm here, I'm gonna start by creating a blend. So click here, and that's pretty insane. So let's hit enter for our options, specified steps, maybe 15. I now have to create the shape that comes in here. To do that, I'm gonna make sure I create a rectangle about the size of our stroke. Okay, and then make it a fill instead of a stroke. And then pull this all the way over here. Come on, get close. Okay, and then let go. Okay, not bad. Now I'm gonna create the little angle in here. Okay. Then I'm gonna hold Option, click drag, and then align the top of this shape with the top of that stroke. As close as I can, right? Okay, and so to create the diagonal look, I'm gonna use my direct selection tool, click both these points, drag this over, and then create a blend. So we wanna hit the top right corner to the top right corner. Now we get a nice, even blend. Again, change the options, specified steps. We wanna remember what we did on the first one because we'll do the exact same on this one. And there you go. The effect is created really easily, and you can even change it dynamically now by selecting both of these. Hit W, enter for options, specified steps, change it to 20. And it automatically updates both. And you get that elegant, abstract looking background really simply with the magic of the blend tool. Now that you've learned the secrets of the blend tool, be sure and check out this video on the top 10 shortcuts that you need to master in Illustrator. And if you liked this video and want to see more like it, let me know in the comments what you'd like to learn next, and be sure and subscribe so you don't miss out.